Hello and welcome. I am your Saturday night. This is your Saturday night. And what are we doing? Well, I think you have a good guess what we're doing right now. We're going to be doing some painting. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We're going to wait and make sure everything catches up. But again, hello. This is your Saturday night. I am your Saturday night. We're going to be doing some painting, some art, having a little bit of fun. It's the good stuff. It's the good stuff. And what kind of painting are we doing? Well, I've been looking at all sorts of different things, and I was kind of like, I want to paint more portraits. So I did this really nice sketch here, just kind of playing with some things that I thought would be really interesting and really fun to do. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. Just a little bit of painting, a little bit of fun. That's what we're going to do. I have some paints already laid out. I actually went ahead and I did this big sketch. So we have a rather large painting, or what's going to be a large painting here. It's on a stretched canvas. And I spent some time, I spent a lot of time actually, trying to do like this nice carve out, this nice sketching, or just running through like a bunch of different ideas. I'm sure you can actually probably see like several of the sketches that I have on here. But that's what we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna be working on this awesome piece of art here. Uh, and we're gonna see how it all goes. I have, of course, a couple different lights going here because you need that. You need light. Light is essential. Light is necessary. So let's go ahead. I'm actually not gonna stand on ceremony. So I've been doing a lot of reading and whatnot lately, and one of, I won't say necessarily my favorite eras of writing, but one of like my favorite set of kind of genres, as it were, um, is actually things that take place in the not too distant past. And I was checking out a few different stories, and then I got listening to some old music. I really like listening to like that old. Old is the wrong word for it, but we're just going to go ahead. We're going to move forward. I like listening to things that kind of evoke the kind of that flapper, roaring, well, not even roaring 20s, the roaring 20s moving into the 30s and the 40s, like that whole kind of period from depression outward. Like, there's some really cool stuff that you get when you are in that space. I'm actually going to go ahead. We're going to get a whole nice base on here. So I really like stuff there from that time. But I don't just like stuff from that time. I like a lot of different art that came from that time. And one of the things that I like about certain creators who came out of what was arguably like kind of a very, I won't say dark, but kind of depressing time in history. One of the really cool things that we got out of those people were just this myriad of different wonderful pieces of literature and lots of different kinds of art, and it was that period of time was pretty interesting in so many ways. And that is kind of the direction I'm going to be moving in today. Um, Working on something to evoke a interesting period of history. Now, some of my own writing and some of my own stories go ahead and make reference to periods of time that occurred in the Depression and in the 30s and the 40s. And that's what we're reaching for today. That's what I'm reaching for today, is kind of that creative zone. Now, I might make some mistakes as I move forward, but that's just part of the whole deal, right? It's part of the whole deal. So we're going to be doing a little bit of kind of just real slow, smooth work here. Taking my time. Really taking my time. I like taking my time with things, and sometimes I make the awful mistake of not actually taking the amount of time I probably should with so many things that I do. I get stuck in, and once I do, it becomes really easy to forget to take my time. So I'm going to be doing a little more taking my time. I don't take enough time sometimes. That's unnecessarily repetitive. But we're going to be taking our time, enjoying our time. And this painting will probably take a lot longer than other work I do. Probably. We'll see. We'll see how some of those things end up working out in the long run. For all I know, this might not actually end up being like something that takes a really long time. Maybe I'll end up getting in the groove and I'll finish it real fast. But like on that note, like I ended up looking at like a lot of various Art Deco and all these different styles of art that came up throughout that period of time. And I really was thinking like what here is the most interesting to me? What speaks to me the most? So what I'm going to be trying to do today, as best as I can, is to capture a little bit of that style, of that feel. And there's a lot of style. Like, there is so much style in some of these creative periods. And I'm going to do my best to try to capture some of that. And I do mean try, of course, because I can't guarantee that I'm going to capture it. I can't guarantee that, everything's going to come out the way that I had hoped. But what's the point in having those hopes if you don't give yourself some of that license to try? And so that is what brings us to where we are today, which is me trying to capture a number of things: a style, a time period from, that I obviously, have only that external understanding of. Just so much that I want to capture here. Since I did take the time to do a really good sketch ahead of time, I know where my zones are and spots that I kind of want to block in. Like where I know a lot of where my colors are going to end up. And I am going to be stylized. I'm going to have fun. It's a necessity that we have fun. Because if we're not having fun doing the things that we want to do, we're going to have some problems. So that's where I'm starting. I'm starting with just getting some bold layers and colors in, blocking some areas in that are going to become kind of fundamental to the later work. Because I have the graphite down already in the sketch, some of this is actually made a lot easier because of that. Like, some of this is made unbelievably easier because I kind of have a direction to begin with. Because I kind of have this understanding what I want to do. And also, how I'm going to do it. So, no matter where you are joining me from today, you are in for a little bit of a treat as we work our way into painting something stylized, something influenced in many ways by a certain period in history and time. but that will also not be bound by necessity to necessarily be as unwarrantedly accurate to certain techniques and styles. I want to have fun. I don't want to be dull. And that's actually something that can come up, when you're doing different kinds of artwork. You can just hit these little bumps, these ramps of, well, that was dull. That wasn't interesting or satisfying. Yeah. So we're going to have some free reign to roam. We're going to have a lot of freedom to play. And just to be very clear, that, to me, is sometimes a lot more interesting than just, let's set a guideline. I don't want to set a guideline. I want to be creative and to be fluid and to have room to explore. So I made a sketch, but I am not holding myself accountable to a particular design or dream. I'm going to hold myself accountable to the process, to the creative luxury of what could be. And I'm going to lean into a few aspects of the very, the very creative, the very unbound, I'm not beholden to realism. This is all about staying in my own wheelhouse, and my wheelhouse is abstraction, creativity, sometimes wild abandon. Made a little whoopsie there, that's okay. I am using a large brush, so, these things happen. But I'm doing essentially some blocking, getting some areas figured out. Let me make a third tone here really quick. It's going to be much lighter. This is a lot more taking the wheels off. Training wheels, not wheels. I don't want to take the wheels off. That sounds like a terrible plan. But I am going to let myself run amok. Oh, I'm going to let myself run amok. Playing with primaries, with cool. And there's definitely a lot of playing with color here. But you gotta play. What's the fun in life if you never play? I'm sure many of you can understand that. You know, the just needing to play, needing to break away. And if you are an artist, I am sure that you have many moments where you break away and play as well. I enjoy having, I guess, what you could call the opportunity to find ways to get away from what could be conceived of as much more traditional, regular, basic. A lot of this is going to require me to experiment a lot. I mean, a lot. And that's what I'm doing right now. Kind of finding the reins on my experimentation. How far is too far? What needs to be much more dull or bland? The eyes don't quite match up just yet. We will fix that. Actually, I'm going to fix that in a fun way for me. A fun way for me. Because sometimes that's what you need to do. Clean that up a little bit more soon. In fact, I'm going to do this right here. Right now, this is a lot of play still. It's not extremely serious or intensive. This is playful and fun. And that's what we're going to do for tonight. We're going to stick with playful and fun. The colors will be bold. The choices will be interesting. And, I don't know. We're going to see where everything takes us. It's a lot to be done. Kind of getting our various shapes and everything in. It's a fun texture right now. For all of you who join me on these various art journeys, I don't think I express often enough how grateful I am to have your presence. So, on that note, let me remind you again that you're awesome. This eye's going to get a little bit smaller for a moment, but we still have a very long way to go. On what is ultimately a very, very interesting kind of I don't know what I would call it right now. But that's okay. We still have a ways to go before I need to call anything anything. Anything at all. This definitely is leaning into a lot more of my more abstract work. And that makes it even more fun to me. I don't know, there's something about thinking, oh, here's another abstract piece. It's just like, yeah, but that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm letting myself get away from my own very limited sometimes views. Also, just letting myself play with different color palettes. Which, to be fair, feels kind of awesome. How can we do something new? How can we really break away from our own limitations if we don't try anything? You're like, oh, no, I know what I'm supposed to do. Well, that's boring. Let me just move this a little bit so hopefully you can see more of what I'm doing at the moment. just starting to texture and get a lot of different layers. This is going to be a much different piece of art for me. And I don't mean that, of course, in a negative way. Or actually, you know what? I don't even need to say it that way. This is going to be just different. And it's going to be, again, leaning more towards stuff that I used to do, that I'm really interested in doing, but also really trying to capture that vibe, that particular feeling. And when you try to capture like a feeling within art or within a style that you want to try, it actually can be very freeing. I mean, legitimately, it can be incredibly freeing. Just be like, you know what? Today, we're not doing that. Today, we're doing this. Today, we're breaking outside certain boundaries. Today, we're doing something interesting. So let me make it very clear. That is in no way to say I don't think I do interesting things. I need to give myself more space to try them. And so here we are. Here we are trying things. Here we are having fun. Let's have more fun. Sorry, I kind of got quiet there for a minute. I was focusing. And, sometimes you focus and you get a little quiet. Don't worry, that's not going to happen a lot. Or maybe it will. I don't know. I'm not going to promise you that. I'm not going to promise you that right now. definitely shouldn't make promises like, oh, don't worry, we're not going to have moments where I just kind of get quiet or whatever. No, I mean, it's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. With a piece of art like this, where I am going for a lot more um, a lot more stylistic approach and a lot less holding myself accountable for trying to achieve a certain amount of realism and whatnot. I actually think what was I going to say? You know what? We're not going to sit here and think about what I was going to say. Instead, I'm going to focus on what I'm doing. Oh, what a good time to come back in and build some more of that up. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's got to be perfect. Well, no, it doesn't, you silly fool. A 100%, it does not have to be perfect. I think I'm going to achieve better results in the end with this piece because I'm just kind of experimenting and playing. I think that's the only way it's going to turn out to be good, you know? And I'm not saying that like there's no way it's going to be good unless I play. No, it's more like there's no way it's going to be fun. No. You know what? I'm just going to do what I'm doing. I am thinking way too hard on what really is supposed to just be a good time. Like, there's some quick details there. That's fun. This is going to be unique, interesting, you know? Sometimes I put a lot more pressure on myself than I think I need to. Now, I couldn't tell you why I do it. I can just tell you that I do it. But I end up doing that. I sit there and I'm like, oh no. Oh no, what am I doing? And then I get a lot of like pressure on top of myself, and I overthink tons of things. I was like, that was silly. You didn't need to do any of that. Yeah, this is a really nice, fun painting. And that is how I'm going to think about it. Now, I did make a couple of whoopsies there, but the good news is it's nothing that I still can't fix. You know? Speaking of fix, I'm going to come through here. I'm going to do a little work on my hairline. You know, just some fun stuff. Sometimes you do something silly like that, and you gotta just... It doesn't look great right now, but it's gonna look better. We're still in that highly creative space. Now, what I'm considering right now is the possibility that, again, I might have to do this a few times. I might have to play a few times in here to really decide, like, is this the way I want this to be? Or is there another way to approach it? Now, the good news for me is I don't have to think too hard about that right now. Nope. I have to just keep moving forward. Because, I feel good about this. This isn't bad. This isn't bad at all. I'm even trying out like a slightly different way to do hair than I normally would. And I think that is exciting. Since this is all going to be highly stylized and a little more disconnected than I think I normally would make something. You know, I have so much in the ways of possibility and potential. Now, I'm going to let some of that face kind of settle. Actually, pull this back down some. That'll do. Boop. All right. Now just to do something a little different here. We're going to be adding some decorations up on the hat. But they're not going to be very well worked out just yet. And yes, before you ask, yes, it is a hat. So I'm just throwing some stuff up there. Nothing really all that wild just yet. But well, there's going to be some more things that go into that as we get further along. But again, we're going stylized. We're having fun. There's actually a lot of really cool things so far that are going on, as far as I'm concerned. So for a start to what eventually is going to be a really different kind of painting for me, but at the same time keeping very much in theme with my work. This has been your Saturday night. I am your Saturday night. We're going to be ending a little bit earlier than we do on some evenings, but I'm going to be fair with you. What has already been accomplished, to me, is pretty awesome. I just want to do a couple things really quick. I know, I just said I was going to stop, and then I'm like, well, but hold on. But hold on. But, that's the good thing about essentially doing my own stuff like this. I can just make these decisions. I can be like, oh, I want that. I just want to put a little green thing there. And while I'm at it, I want to come over here and I want to grab a little more white. Add some lightness to a couple of things that I'd already done. Because I have the option to do whatever I want. And even if this is going to be stylized, if I want to change something, no matter when that is, I can do it. All right. I mean, these are already some really fun ways to take this. Um, we've come really far. We've done a whole bunch. And I think by the time we come back to this, I will have even more ideas on how I can do something again. Like, that's both less traditional, but also really traditional at the same time. How I can fuse some of these stylized abstract and art deco concepts together, and then some of the kind of like just all these different things, like so impressionistic and art deco and abstract, and get these different styles that I've been looking at. And honestly, I'm going to be fair, I don't always know if there's like already existing fusion of these things and if that has a name. So if it does, just go ahead and let me know in the comments, in a post, or wherever it might be, because I will appreciate it greatly. It's always fun to know a little bit more. Now, before I accept that as a possibility, let's just go ahead and I'm going to get that right there. And start to darken a little bit of that in. As we make that eye just a little more and more obscured. But once all this paint is dried, and once we add more layers, more shapes, get some other ideas, this is actually a really big canvas, so I have a lot of space to play, to work, to consider. We're gonna do it. And honestly, I probably won't even like cover everything in a single kind of style or way. I might make adjustments from here, like change some of the face structure, um, change some of the scenery. You know, if I wanted to like cut this shape down or change this jawline or alter the eyes, all of that is completely up to me still. This is still a really fun place to have this sitting, and we're going to come back to it in the future. However, thank you for being here. Be excellent, be well, you're awesome, and you make all these streams possible. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you